Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Seeds and Weeds podcast, brought to you by Small House Farm. Join us as we talk with gardeners, foragers, herbalists, chefs, and community activists to explore the many ways that plants impact our cultures and cuisines, our history, and our future. I'm your host, Bevin Cohen, and this is Seeds and Weeds. Hello again, my friends. Welcome back to the show. We got a fun episode here for you today. First, we're going to be talking with clinical aromatherapist Liz Fulcher. We're going to be digging into Hydrosols, the Aromatic Wisdom Institute, and Liz is going to be sharing her top 5 hydrosols and her favorite ways to work with them. After the interview, I'll be profiling another beneficial herb, mint, specifically peppermint and spearmint. We'll explore some background on the herb as well as some fun ways that we can work with mint, both in the kitchen and in the apothecary. So you'll definitely want to stick around for that. You know, last year we had Amy Anthony on the show to talk about essential oils. She's also a clinical aromatherapist, and we had a great conversation. I really learned a lot about essential oils, and Amy also shared her top 5 essential oils with us. I'll put a link to that episode down in the show notes if you want to check it out. One of the things that we learned when we were talking to Amy is how essential oils are made through steam distillation. Fresh herbs are loaded into the copper pot of a still along with some water. The water is heated, and the steam that's created pushes through the plant material, extracting the essential oils and other botanical goodness. Then the steam goes through a condenser, which turns it back into a liquid. The essential oils can then be found at the top of this liquid and are separated using a special separatory funnel. Well, the second product, not the essential oils, but the water that remains, that's what's known as the hydrosol. So distillation actually creates 2 products, a small amount of essential oil and a larger quantity of hydrosol. Now, this hydrosol is actually a very valuable liquid. It's more gentle than essential oils too. Amy described hydrosol as the yang to essential oils yin, which I thought was a pretty cool analogy. I've been wanting to learn more about working with hydrosol, so when I met Liz Fulcher at an event this past spring, I just knew I had to bring her on the show to talk about it. Liz has been studying and working with distillation for more than 30 years. She's a clinical aromatherapist, educator, podcast host, and distiller. In 2010, she founded the Aromatic Wisdom Institute, where she offers online training on essential oils and hydrosols, as well as an aromatherapy certification program. Liz, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
I am so excited to be here. You know, I love your podcast.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. And I'm so excited to really start digging into distillation and hydrosols and all that good stuff. But before we get into it, could you just tell our listeners a little bit more about your background and your journey to becoming a clinical aromatherapist?
In 1991, about 1,000 years ago, I happened to be living in Rome, Italy. I was married to an Italian. But when my second son was born, I have 2 boys. When Gianluca was born in 91, they said, we're going to diaper him and bathe him. And I started to protest, saying, I have a child, I know what to do, and massage him. And I said, what? You can massage a newborn? So I went along and they taught me how to give him a massage with this incredible smelling oil that was in an amber unmarked bottle. So for 3 days I was in the clinic, and for 3 days we massaged this infant, and it smelled good. It made me feel calm. The babies were calm. Before I left, I said, you have to tell me what this is. I need some. Turns out that what they were giving Gianluca, what they were massaging him with, it was calendula infused carrier oil in olive oil. And as you know, calendula is amazing for the skin, especially for little babies, with chamomile, which is very soothing to the central nervous system. So I began self-teaching, and it was in 99 when I attended a program at Purdue University in Indiana on the chemistry of the essential oils. Finally, in 2010, I opened my own school, the Aromatic Wisdom Institute. And then in 2013, I learned how to distill because I wanted to learn more about hydrosols, not necessarily how to distill, but by default, once I began to distill and producing essential oils and hydrosols, then I fell in love with distillation. So that's been the journey until now, pretty much 33 years.
That's fantastic. So you mentioned you opened the Aromatic Wisdom Institute in 2010. And now through the Institute, you're offering online courses and therapeutic uses of essential oils and hydrosols, like you mentioned. Could you tell us a little bit more about the Institute, specifically the various classes that you offer and what prospective students might be expecting when they sign up for your classes?
Absolutely. I do have a couple of free classes, for example, Introduction to Essential Oils. So people can kind of get a sense of my teaching style, which tends to be informal and friendly, but I offer the energetics of essential oils and a level 1 aromatherapy certification program.
Now I'm going to put you on the spot here, Liz. Sometimes on the show, we do this thing, the top 5 list. So what are your top 5 hydrosols and what would you use them for?
Oh boy. Well, lavender. I mean, lavender is a panacea. Honestly, it does everything. Lavender essential oil, lavender hydrosol. Lavender hydrosol is so calming and soothing. It's anti-inflammatory. It's, of course, superb for skincare. Hydrosols I use with children. I even have used hydrosols on my grandson when he was born. Let's see, a rose hydrosol. It's really good if you have sensitive skin, if you have rosacea, if you have maturing skin. That is nice, especially if you use it instead of water with a clay. So Moroccan clay, I'm over 50, so I love all this stuff for maturing skin. If I take Moroccan clay, add rose hydrosol, my skin is just glowing. It's emotionally uplifting. Again, facial toners, body mist, even in food. The third hydrosol that is always in my house is helichrysum. Oh my word, is it a beauty of a healer. Helichrysum hydrosol is as well. And I have used that anytime anybody I know has stitches, has had an incision, has a topical wound that is open. I use helichrysum hydrosol. And I use that as a first line of defense before I pull out the expensive essential oil. I'll always start with the hydrosol first. If that can do the trick, then you don't even have to open the oil. And then peppermint hydrosol, I might use that more than anything. You can use peppermint hydrosol if it's very cooling and refreshing. And right now, we're in summer as you're recording this, although even in the winter, it's beautiful. That's just cooling and refreshing. And tea tree hydrosol is another one that I use a lot, again, for wound care, for cuts, acne. I did a case study once on a teenage boy who had acne, and I used only tea tree hydrosol, and there was so much healing of his face. So tea tree is fantastic for acne. Wound care, again, is an antifungal foot spray. So I could talk about these all day. Bevin, haven't we got all day?
I'm impressed that you were able to narrow it down to 5, though. That's always hard to do. That's quite a list that you put together. So, Liz, what are the links that folks are going to need so they can learn more about you and to connect with the Aromatic Wisdom Institute?
The two main links are my school and my podcast. So the aromaticwisdominstitute.com, that'll take you actually to everything. You'll see the courses, you'll see my podcast link, you'll see all the things up at the navigation menu. If you just want to go to my podcast, that is Aromatic Wisdom Podcast.
Fantastic. I'm going to put all of those links, both the links that you mentioned, down in the show notes so folks can just click on through. Liz, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. That was absolutely awesome.
Well, Bevin, I hope next time I talk to you, tell me all the ways you're using hydrosols.
You got it. It's a deal.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me, Bevin. This was a lot of fun.
That was awesome. I'm glad Liz was able to join us on the show to share her knowledge and experience with all of us. Now, before we jump into the herb profile, I just want to give a quick shout out to the newest members of our Patreon community, including Rosetta Landro and Sandra Streck. Our Patreon community has now officially reached 200 members, which is pretty awesome, especially since it's the support of our community on Patreon that helps make the podcast possible. To show our appreciation for the support, our Patreon members enjoy some fantastic benefits like exclusive content and recipes, mini episodes of the Seeds and Weeds podcast, seasonal gift baskets, all sorts of groovy stuff. If you want to check it out, you can find the link to our Patreon down in the show notes or over on our website, seedsandweedspodcast.com. An anciently and wildly diverse herb, mint makes a refreshing tea, brings cooling freshness to dishes, and provides a wealth of health benefits. There's nothing more soothing than a hot cup of peppermint tea, but this sweet and refreshing herb can also be used to bring relief to sore muscles, and it can add a flavorful twist to your favorite meals. Originally native to Europe and Southern Asia, mint is now widely distributed around the world. And since hybridization between species can easily occur, it's difficult to determine exactly how many species exist, but it's estimated that there's at least 20 to 25 distinct species of mint. The most common mint, peppermint, is a hybrid resulting from a cross between water mint and spearmint. It's used as a flavoring of candies, toothpaste, and beverages, and it's also included in some shampoos and soaps for added fragrance. Spearmint's a common ingredient in both culinary and cosmetic products as well. And this species is one of the oldest recorded types of the herb, dating back to at least the 1st century. The use of spearmint was mentioned by Pliny the Elder, and references to the herb can even be found in the Bible. Mint in the kitchen. Enjoying a cup of mint tea is the easiest way to utilize this cooling herb in the kitchen, but the plant, specifically spearmint, is also used as an ingredient in a handful of other well-known beverages, including mojitos and mint juleps. Mint traditionally accompanies lamb and poultry dishes, especially when it's crafted into a jelly. It's also widely used in Middle Eastern and Greek cuisine. You could try it in soups, salads, and sauces, or whenever you're looking to add a little fresh, bright flavor to your food. We typically prefer the fresh herb over dried for cooking, and many chefs will actually keep a small pot of mint growing on the kitchen windowsill to ensure sure that they always have a ready supply of the herb for any of their recipes. Mint in the Apothecary. Mint has a long history of use in traditional folk medicine and is considered helpful for a wide variety of ailments. A simple tea brewed from peppermint leaves is an excellent treatment for stomach upset and digestive complaints. The same tea is also useful as a topical wash to alleviate the itching and discomfort that's often associated with sunburns, eczema, psoriasis, and insect bites. We can also use mint topically to relieve sore and tired muscles. Simply infuse the leaves of peppermint in oil to extract its analgesic constituents, and then use this herb-infused oil to craft a pain-relieving salve or lotion. Growing mint. Mint is easy to grow in all temperate climates, but due to its aggressive, spreading nature, it's often recommended to cultivate the plant in pots to help keep it contained. The herb spreads through underground rhizome, so it can quickly take over an area once it's established. This aggressive growth habit also makes it easy for propagation through root division, though. All you need to do is just dig up a chunk, separate it into clumps, and replant it. It's just that easy. Mint's a vigorous perennial that prefers moist but well-draining soil, and it loves to grow near water. The plants thrive in full sun, but they'll also do quite well in partial shade. Once established, which doesn't take long at all, your mint patch will provide you with bountiful harvests that will add their cool and refreshing flavor to your life for years to come. Well, that about wraps it up. Big thanks to Liz Fulcher for being our guest today, and to all of you for tuning in. Remember, if you'd like to support our program and enjoy some exclusive benefits, you can always join our Patreon community. You can find that link and many more at seedsandweedspodcast.com. This episode was edited and produced by all of us here at Small House Farm, and the music we're enjoying right now is called Food and Fun by Golden Sound Lab. Thanks again for joining us, friends. I'm Bevin Cohen, and we'll see you next time.